Absolute Radio. Frank Skinner.
And we're off. Hey, it's the Not the Weekend podcast. I'm Frank Skinner. I'm with Alan Cochrane.
What's up?
And Emily Dean. The A-team are back in residence.
The A-team as well.
Doesn't it feel lovely? It's like I've got me best bath crystals back.
Oh. After a period on the road where you were just using, like...
Use whatever they got in the hotel.
It's George Best crystals.
That'd be worth seeing. So, yes, this is... well, you know what it is. If you've tuned in, you probably know what it is. If you don't... hey, stick around.
Of course, they don't really tune into a podcast, do they?
Don't they? What do they do?
They click, I suppose. Plug in. Or they might have just found it on somebody else's
Plug
iPod.
in, that sounds a bit 80s wired for sound. Oh, don't
you
talk
think-
about Cliff Richard, not on Absolute Radio.
No, don't do that. Are you suggesting that they've... some sort of mogger might be listening to this, having nicked someone else's iPod?
Or the man who owns the motorhome company where I lost my iPod and then I didn't dare ask for it back because I'd had a heated conversation with him.
Was it over money, Cockerell?
No, it was
Okay.
over him. It was over him. I didn't like his way.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
He didn't like his way, but he loves your iPod. And isn't
Yeah,
that,
I was enjoying that.
Yeah, I feel bad about Cliff. I don't know if you know about this, but Cliff's upset because Absolute 60s,
Yeah.
the new...
Yeah.
how low can they go?
How dare you?
Do you think they'll go 50s? Will they try that?
It's 50s is a musical era that people talk about.
I'd
don't
say
they?
I'd love it if they start going 1910s and stuff like that.
Oh,
That would be so brilliant.
Oh, might be starting to do Glimpse of Stocking and all sorts
Oh
on
man,
there.
the rites of spring. Yeah, but anyway, Cliff. Just as you bring it up, Cliff is upset that they're not going to play Cliff on Absolute 60.
Hasn't he had this happen to him before with...
He's always been dropped by radio stations.
Oh, poor Cliff.
To be honest, it happens every time he releases any music.
Poor put upon Cliff.
If he just, and I'm not saying for a second that he's been deceptive about his sexuality. I think he's been completely straightforward. Who knows what it is? But if let's
It's okay. It's okay. We can edit.
But if no, it's not. No, I don't know. I don't know
I
about
know.
Cliff's sexuality. It's not my business. But if he did come out and say, "Look, I am let's say he said I'm a roaring homosexual."
Roaring.
Where's he? Brian Blessed.
I think it would be more difficult. Can we say Brian Blessed? We know nothing about his sexuality.
No, but he's roaring.
It would be more difficult to drop him. The trouble is he doesn't fall into any of the categories that can say, you're picking on me.
No.
Because he's just, successful and slim. And I suppose he could say it was ageism.
Yeah, he could.
That's all he's got. And let's face it, on Absolute 60, there's going to be a few people playing that card from the artist.
Well, no, he's got an ailment, hasn't he? A bathroom-based ailment.
What's
And I don't know if that's true either.
Oh, isn't it?
No.
Is that a weak bladder or something? I don't know what.
Well, we have to
No.
pick a very fine line. I don't think he has.
No,
I don't
okay.
think he does carry extra luggage. I've been very close to him, and he wears extremely tight clothes. There's no room for any attachments.
Yeah. Well, he had full-length leathers during Heathcliff.
Matrix.
I bet no one muttered that at the time.
No, but I like a lot of Cliff's 60s music. He's great.
Yeah.
I think they're missing out. I mean, far be it from me to comment on company policy, but I'd be happy to hear a bit of Summer Holiday, The Young Ones.
I stand behind any decision our MD makes.
Well, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I'm standing with Cliff
I'd say that as well.
in so
but
many ways.
I'm adhering to the no repeat guarantee.
Yeah, there's one thing to be not repeated, to be not played. Anyway.
Maybe they should just play him once and then say, look, we've got this guarantee thing.
I was going to pick 4 Cliff Richard tracks on the show last week and just play them. The
I love your willful perversity. It's one of your finest
that would have made
qualities.
you like a
that was
firebrand.
one of my best tracks ever.
Willful perversity.
Yeah.
Now, Frank,
Willful perversity seems kind of good to me.
I think it's a Berlusconi track, isn't it?
Well, it
it's actually
rhymes.
about Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank, you've been doing a few interviews this week.
Yes, I'm plugging. I'm on the plug this week.
How's it going?
It's all right. I'm all right when I just do an interview, because, when you do an interview and you're just chatting about the project, then, because what happens is that Room 101 is coming back in January with me hosting it, right? And so I'm doing interviews to plug that. One has certain obligations. And I don't mind just chatting about it, but sometimes you get the themed interview that needs a bit of prep. And that's quite hard work. Like this week I had 10 best double acts. And you have to give that a bit of thought,
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's 20 people you've got to think about.
20 people, exactly.
What did you plump for?
Well, I had 19 people. I left out Ernie Wise. I think I might upset some Morecambe and Wise fans by suggesting that I think Eric Morecambe could have operated on a "have I got news for you" policy of just having a different bloke in every week. It wouldn't have been any less funny.
Oh, yeah, because the thing they always say is, oh, yeah, but he was very good, Wise, don't they? They always say,
Yeah, that's the
he played
clever
a really
thing to say.
important role, didn't he?
Yeah, of
that's
course.
what they always say.
Yeah, of course he wasn't.
Yeah, he was just fine.
He just happened
was
to be
just a man.
standing. He's standing next to a
It was
brilliant
a
comedian.
man.
Yeah. But anyway, so we had that discussion. I started off, obviously, you have like Peter Cook, Dudley Moore, and and Morecambe and Wise,
Yeah.
and
Two Ronnies.
Two Ronnies, of course. Laurel and Hardy, obviously, was the number one. By the end of it, Saint and Greavsie, I was.
I loved Saint and Greavsie.
Saint and Greavsie are one of the great
Absolutely
forgotten
loved.
double acts
I think
of
they
all
were
time.
great. Even I liked them.
Brilliant.
They,
I'm so glad you put Saint and Greavsie on
yeah,
the
they
list.
represented a flux in sports journalism, because a real changing point where Ian St John, he represented straight, dull TV sports broadcasting. Still carried on, but then Greavsie was the guy who sort of, there wouldn't be a match of the day too. There wouldn't have been a fantasy football without Greavsie. I'm happy to say that.
He was the sort of opinionated mate, wasn't he?
He was great, and Ian St John, not so much a straight man, as a member of the audience, brought up on stage, because he just laughed, is what he did. He laughed and went, "Oh, Greavsie," in disbelief. Brilliant.
That's like me on this show, except I say Frank.
That's a bit harsh. I put the Crankies in there.
Did you?
Yeah, I put, because I saw them recently, they absolutely, they've gone they've taken on a sort of Brechtian approach.
No way.
They have.
Have they eradicated the fourth wall?
They have.
Theatre of alienation, they're big fans of.
They've ripped down the fourth
could
wall
remember the
into a
German
pile of
word
rubble, and then they've urinated on it. That's what they've done to the fourth wall. At one point,
Crankies have gone Brechtian, Frank.
honestly, at one point, wee Jimmy Cranky danced around the stage, holding up an old age pensioner's bus pass, singing Fandabadosi. It was a complete break. Honestly, Ian at one point said, "Why weren't you in school this morning, Jimmy?" And Jimmy says, "Well, for one thing, I'm a 61-year-old woman." It's fantastic.
I thought you were back on Saint and Greavsie there for a minute.
Alienation techniques.
Very knowing.
Yeah, it was incredible, but brilliant. So I loved that. And Richard and Judy, obviously, I had.
Did you?
Did
Their skill, of course, was not knowing.
Yeah.
That was what was brilliant about them. I always firmly believing they were serious journalists, even when they became a ridiculous vaudeville double act.
Yeah.
That was great.
Did Roger de Courcy and Nicky Bear not get a look in?
No, I laid off the inanimates, generally speaking.
I must do that as well.
I always... no, not barbiturates. I suppose that Roger de Courcy took barbiturates.
I love an animal/drug-based pun.
We had Roger de Courcy on fantasy football once, and we said, "Do you still go to football matches, Roger?" He said, "I don't go anymore." He said, I was at Wembley, he said, and I was involved in an incident in the Olympic Gallery.
Weren't we all?
We never found out what that was.
Really?
But I love it's the sinister element of
Air
it.
of mystery.
Roger de Courcy involved in an incident in the Olympic Gallery. What could that have
It's
been?
like a great headline for a start.
Sounds like Game of Cluedo.
Yeah, so anyway, I tried to think of some...
John Noakes and Shep.
No, I lay off the animal world as well.
Really?
Yeah, it was... But,
I couldn't have done that.
I got me 10 together. I had the people from... I had George Cole and Dennis Waterman from Minder, who were a great comedy double act, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it got me thinking about the whole, 'cause double acts are not, you get your standard double acts, but a lot of people operate as a double act in entertainment. I'm thinking particularly at the moment of Flavia and Russell Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an interesting, profoundly symbolic thing. It's the kind of the way we all hate the beautiful and the talented, that we feel we need to tie them to some sort of fat blob as a punishment. A bit like Coleridge's Ancient Mariner with the albatross around his neck. And, I mean, okay, the dancers on Strictly are not going to be as good as the professionals, but to Flavia, who is a tango champion...
And they're quite exquisite.
Yeah, and to have to dance with a man who's not even trying to dance anymore.
Isn't
He's
he?
just wearing garish clothes and being a bit camp on there.
Oh, well, it's worked in the past, that.
Well, it has.
He just wears satin shirts with a flared hem.
Yeah, but I feel so sorry for Flat. And she, she's got that lovely smile with the dimples, trying to make the best of it, but you could tell she loathes him.
She's very good-natured, unlike Brendan. I find him less good-natured.
Oh, no, he's aggressive, isn't he, Brendan?
I
Is he
think
the
she
one that bosses them around.
I think she could crack, though, Flavia. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he, open, inverted commas, falls off a balcony, close, inverted commas.
Oh, there'll be some collateral damage with that.
I wouldn't want to be under it. No, but it is. He was a man, I don't need to think I'm bitter, but he was a man who told me that my career would only last 7 years and that I'd never hold down a long-term relationship when he did my star chart.
He didn't.
He did, yeah?
I didn't know that, Frank.
Yeah, he told me both of those things.
I
And
didn't
you've
know you and
remembered.
Russell had a
I've
history.
remembered, yeah. And there's
He's
been
worked with them all, hasn't he? He's worked with them all.
no mention on Strictly of the fact that he's an astrologer. I haven't heard that. Is he not one anymore?
What does he
Isn't
call
he
himself?
an astronomer?
No, he's not an astronomer. He's
Astrologer,
definitely
you're
not
right.
an astronomer.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's Patrick Moore and Heather Cooper.
Oh, yeah, you're
Yes.
right. Yeah, yeah.
But no, he's an astrologer.
So what is he being called?
He's the one who makes it up.
They never
make
talk.
it up.
They never talk about it on there at all. I suppose, to be fair, Bruce would rather not know. I think he will. It'll be like Jesus will come like a thief in the night, and he won't. It'll just, who knows when the hour will come. I mean, can you imagine? I reckon that if he's, I can't remember if he's gone yet. Russell, but anyway, I
thought you meant Bruce.
Well, maybe when this goes out, the classic Russell ending, if it was to say, "Sorry, Russell, it's all over, you're going home," would be to him in a snarling, cattish way to name the day that Bruce's demise, and then storm off. Imagine the cold atmosphere.
If Russell gets the boot and he just goes, "You've got till next Thursday, Bruce." Is that what you mean?
That's why they don't have Bruce on the results show on Sunday, because there's always a danger the guests will make some terrible prediction and then storm off. And I mean, Russell Grant, it's an accident waiting to happen.
Oh, dear. So, Alan,
Yes?
is it true that you might be purchasing something that's quite dear to Frank's heart? I heard a rumour.
I'll tell
Oh,
you.
God, are you buying West Bromwich Albion?
No, but I am. I'm a bit concerned, Frank. I'm going to air this to you. I know. Since I've been working with you, I've caught myself more and more having Frank-style moments, as I would say. I keep getting lost, which is a very Frank Skinner trait.
Is that
I
new
think.
to you?
It is new to me, yeah.
That's weird.
I never had a brilliant sense of direction, but I never really noticed the absence of one, and now I'm starting to notice the absence of one.
Have you been drinking out of my cup? Because there will be some poison traces.
Residual poison from the
Frank,
poisoner.
can you stop making oblique references to the fact that Sarah is trying to poison you?
I think it's good to upfront it because it's going to take nerves of steel to continue this regime of steady poisoning, even though I'm making it very public.
Yes, she baked cookies for us last week. How did they go down?
Well, I've eaten one actually just before this show.
Been walking slower.
Everything's gone orange. To be fair, it was a Jaffa cake.
But I've caught myself appreciating trees more. 'Cause
Really?
You often say you love a tree.
Oh,
I've always
God.
liked a tree, but now I'm on the train so much because I come to London sometimes twice, 3 times a week. So the train goes past a lot of trees, and I occasionally see a tree on its own in a field and think, that is a nice treat.
Beautiful.
And occasionally think Frank would like that.
Oh.
And
Imagine sitting
obviously,
under that.
I do a lot of sound checks in my other job as a touring comedian. Tickets still available. That's my Maasai name. Alun, tickets still available. Cochrane. But I've sometimes caught myself performing a little poem or a soliloquy as part of the sound check, which is a definite Frank Skinner trait.
What do you opt for?
Well, I occasionally go with a quote from Dejection and Ode, which
That's
is
very Frank.
Oh,
a
yeah.
grief without a pang, void, dark and drear, a stifled, drowsy, unimpassioned grief. And sometimes I do the balcony speech from Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
But
Brilliant.
Frank is
you know,
something of I describe you as a social architect, if you don't mind.
a social architect.
That's what there's no songs about. Well, I guess. I suppose if you hang around with someone, there's a mutual.
I was going to put a ukulele on my Christmas list.
Well, this is what I was referring
Can I
to.
say I very
weird,
much
isn't it?
recommend that.
Really?
It'd
How
be
much
nice
do you
for
get one
Santa.
for, Frank?
You can get a decent one for about 20 quid. Can you believe that?
Oh.
Really? And they're not rubbish, the 20 quid ones?
No, well,
They're
you
fun.
gotta try them out really in the shop, but you can get 20 quid ones that are good.
Wow.
The thing to do is to try the machine heads and make sure that they tune the string. So when you twist them, does the sound of that string change, or is it just the same? If it is, you need another one.
Oh, okay.
Or go to the shop at the George Formby convention. I say shop. It's actually 7 old men round a table.
But that's a bigger investment.
Yes.
I think anyone who you hang around with has a sort of you've had quite a dietary influence
Have I?
on me,
I
Alan.
did wonder if you were catching yourself savouring food.
No, not so much savouring food, but you've a little couple of maxims you've come out which have really stuck with me. I was talking about having nuts. I said, but I think they're quite fat. And you said, no, that nuts are the right kind of fat. And that's really
you've ever
stuck
done an
with me.
impression of me in my company before.
I said to my girlfriend, apparently they're the right kind of fat, you can eat those. So now she has the odd nut as well. It's changed.
Oh, yeah, they
Changed
are.
it.
Good fats.
And the other one you said the other week is, often when you think you're hungry, you're often thirsty. And that's also stuck in my mind.
That is not an Alan Cochrane phrase. That was me quoting a friend of mine who had said that. And I think he's right. I mean, quite often I eat when I should probably have some water. I think
It
that is
sounds like the sort of thing that a troubled teenage girl might say, though.
Yeah.
So I think
yeah,
I
we
should
don't.
say that food is best. You need some food. Let's make that absolutely
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
And also, I suppose the ultimate influence you've had on me is airplane mode,
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
which I'd seen on my
Now,
phone
in
but
the
never
Venn
touched
diagram,
before.
that's where we cross over.
We're all on-
airplane mode. Exactly the same, Frank. Airplane setting. I've never looked back.
We should explain that we all put our phones on airplane mode so that we can't be contacted during the show.
See, I used to just have it on silent. Occasionally, I'd read a text. You know,
Oh,
we would
no.
just be at it. You've actually rendered me uncontactable.
Yeah. I pop my phone on airplane mode for when I'm recording gigs, because there's quite a good voice memo recorder on the phone that I have. And if you put it on airplane mode, then nobody's going to ring you while it's recording.
Oh,
Clever.
okay. Yeah, I think Imogen Thomas used that when she was recording gigs.
Yeah.
God.
Very similar.
Yeah. No, so it's interesting. We're talking about Americanisms on the show on Saturday. And it only just struck me that, even I was talking about this, that it isn't aeroplane mode, is it?
Oh,
It's
no.
airplane.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
right.
So is that what Americans say? Do they say airplane instead of aeroplane?
They certainly did in the film titles.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
did. It's a good point. Well, I never really noticed that before.
And I caught myself the other day thinking I might get some checked trousers. There was some checked
Blimey,
trousers.
this is
Skinner stuff.
I think this is a...
I'm worried at the end of all this I might believe in a beneficent deity. Where's it all end?
that would be, I think I could also get you done for identity theft. If this goes any further. A man who interviewed me this week, can you believe this? It's finally happened.
Yeah.
He suggested I was a national treasure.
Oh,
And I rejected it out of hand.
Did you?
I just think national treasures are such terrible people, generally speaking. Do I want to be in the same Venn diagram as Dame Betty Boothroyd?
national treasure.
I've seen her described as that. Whereas she should just been described as a fool. So anyway, here I sit on airplane mode, thanks to the cockerel. I am uncontactable. His role in my life is a bit like Annie Wilkes in Misery. He has rendered me uncontactable.
Frank, we've had an email in, which I'd like to share with you boys. This is from Charlie Walker. He says, Dear Frank, Emily and the Cockerel. It's quite a long email, actually, so settle down.
Okay.
Put yourself on belt on driver setting,
Shall we
Cockerel.
sit cross-legged
I
on
love
the
the
floor?
belt on driver setting. That's an influence that I would
Yes.
like you to have had. If you
Yeah, I haven't really done that yet.
Give it a try, honestly. It's very nice. It's really soothing.
Charlie says... As I read that, I started laughing in anticipation of your impression. Charlie says, your podcast, he's back reffing our work here, finally gave me a good reason to email you.
Finally.
In said podcast, the outlandishly named TJ Baptista Menendez,
Oh, I remember him.
one of our regulars, mentioned in his postscript that he'd listened to your podcast in 13 interestingly exotic countries. Frank said this made him proud, and the Cockerel guessed he was on the run.
That's right.
Sounds like the sort of thing we'd say. Over the last 16 months, I've listened to your podcast in no less than 30 countries.
Goodness.
Including the deserts of Iran, the mountainous wastelands of Tibet, the jungles of Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam, the islands of Indonesia...
Hold on, are you about to say hit me with your rhythm stick? I like the way he doesn't name the countries on their own. He gives us little geographical details.
Groups.
Massive.
Yeah.
I would never say that to you, Frank. It's platonic, our friendship. The impoverished villages of China...
What about my
judgmental, that.
gibbon stick? I don't know if you've seen that.
The what countries?
The impoverished villages of China. They're doing quite well now, aren't they, China?
Oh, but
Well,
maybe
not-
he's been to the impoverished ones. I think there's
he's-
still a little bit of imbalance there.
Yeah, he sought out the cheap accommodation area of China.
The Norwegian Arctic tundra.
Wow.
Yeah.
I myself have not been on the run. This is Charlie still speaking.
Whatever.
Excepting a short stint in Tibet, which resulted in arrest, escape, and subsequent arrest by the Chinese Public Security Bureau.
They sound frightening.
Don't they?
But I'm travelling across Asia on a bicycle as part of a 4-year expedition. 50,000 miles he's doing.
He's travelling on a bicycle.
Brilliant.
And his name's Charlie Walker. Brilliant.
I take this opportunity to thank you heartily for providing me with countless laughs. Oh, I can't read that as praise. But anyway, that's from Charlie.
Excellent.
That was
What
amazing.
a fabulous thing to do. And what I like the sound of it, he didn't mention any charity. So it could be one of the rare occasions there of somebody doing something remarkable just because it's remarkable.
Yeah.
And not because they're trying to save the spectacled bear.
Or he could be a people trafficker. We don't really know.
Not on a... Not, we think he's a tandem.
Yeah, like one of those bikes that the
He's on a,
goodies had.
it's on a tandem looking for trouble. Yeah,
Oh, good on
that's
him.
brilliant.
Yeah, I like the sound of him.
Whereas I listened to a podcast the other day on my journey to Bradford in the car.
What, you listen to one of our podcasts?
No, I listened to a pod. I had a really sweet moment. You know, as a touring comedian, sometimes your timing just feels off. But I had a very sweet moment. I arrived in Bradford in the car park at the exact moment the podcast that I had been listening to finished. It was very, you know, it just felt like, this is perfect timing, and I'm in the timing business. It was good.
Good. I
Good for the
remember.
show.
I remember going to an away game. I think it might have been at Everton, and on the coach that we were going on, they put on The Eagle Has Landed. You familiar with that film? And we're just coming up to the denouement at the end, and we arrived. They just switched it off.
Oh, no.
And that was it. And on the way back, we watched part of another film. I think it was Return of a Man Called Horse. So we saw the greater part, but not the ending of two excellent films.
I like that you were on the coach.
Oh, yes.
Well, I didn't know you were playing that day.
This was in my earlier days.
So, Frank, stop all the clocks, because we have some very sad news.
Oh, no.
I'm afraid
Is this a poem?
David Suchet, better AKA Hercule Poirot. This character will be no more as of this Christmas. The last episode with
Sans Poirot.
Sans Suchet.
Sans shoes.
That's how I asked for my coffee.
Exactly.
It's the final episode. It's got a great title. It's called Curtain.
Good.
That's the last.
Just Curtain.
Yes, just Curtain.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what you guys think. I don't know if you're Poirot Suchet fans.
Well,
I'm looking forward to the penultimate episode, Pelmit.
I'm a fan of the books. I haven't seen many of the programmes.
Have you actually read the book?
I've read some of the Poirot books. And I
How
thought
brilliant.
They were great. I thought they were excellent. And you know when people say that about him, he is the only Poirot that looks and seems like the book's Poirot. He's great at it, according to the books. You know, he's really good.
Oh, no, I'm Ustinov all the way, I'm afraid. Yeah, very much so.
One only Mr. Peter Ustinov. I can't. He's always part of the Muppet Show for me. And also, people always say he was a great raconteur. Peter Ustinov.
Frank, where do you stand on Poirot?
Well, first of all, I read this story and I was stunned and shocked, partly because I thought it had ended years ago.
Yeah.
Had no idea he was still doing
And they're
it.
still knocking him out.
And then I read a couple of quotes, which I noted. They were the most actory things I've ever heard said in my life. These was his two things that he said about
Sorry,
playing
I'm
Poirot.
just settling down for the most actory things you've ever heard.
He said he's of Poirot, the way they do. He's maddeningly frustrating to play as he's so vain and pedantic. And what are you talking about? If you don't like it, don't make him vain and pedantic. Then just take the edge off it a bit. I hate that. Oh yeah, it's very difficult because he's. When you say he, you mean you.
Yeah.
Rubbish. And also, he said he's one of the greatest listeners in literature. He said of Poirot.
Oh.
Just, what's that mean? It means that's a hint. I don't get as many lines as I should. But when I don't get lines, I make a big hoo-ha out of listening. So they're still looking at me and not the person who's speaking.
Well, that's clever of him.
Greatest
isn't it?
listener in literature. What about that mouse that had an ear drafted onto its back? What a listener that was.
Yeah.
The cat couldn't get within 50 yards of it.
He's a bit of a method actor, though, isn't he?
Isn't he?
Yes, he speaks in a French accent when he's on set, and he gets into character as Poirot.
Does he
A friend of
really?
mine, yeah, I've heard that, but I don't know how good his French is because he doesn't actually speak in French. He just speaks in a kind of hoary-haw voice.
And
Oh, okay.
Poirot's Belgian, isn't he?
Well, that's true.
I still speak French, though.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, come on.
He's not speaking Flemish.
I mean,
A vain and pedantic character.
Yeah, give him a chance, Suchet.
I suppose they had to call a halt on it anyway because it's nearly the end of November, isn't it? So they have to film it all before the end of the month.
Well, what's going to happen? Because I think I've mentioned before that I know the person who looks after his moustache on the programme.
Do you?
Yeah, and he gave her a big cardboard version of it with a thank you on, which he's still got in a car, I think. And is he going to give away that actual? I mean, there must be a few of them, presumably. I
the
think
stunt moustache,
they're like
yeah,
Skippies. You know, with Skippy, there was about 6 of them
Oh, was there?
in knotted sacks in the back of a 4x4. They arrive at location, they say, which one is lowest on oxygen? We better use them in the next thing. It's like spinning plates. Yeah, there were several Skippies. And also they used to have in the back 2 sticks with kangaroo paws nailed on the end so they could do any delicate work, any delicate hand close-ups for Skippy.
Oh, nice.
Like the ones when he was, working out the combination of a large safe.
Making phone calls.
That kind of thing. Calculating.
Skippy's worked out the square root of 364.
Just hold on a minute. Skip's just working out whether he's going to make that canyon in a single bound. He's going to do a bit of geometry. Yeah, so I did think it had gone. But are they going to, will there be will he die? Will
Oh,
it be
I
like
hope
that
so.
at the end?
Well, it's called Curtains, so it's not looking good for him.
No, that's
Well, we
true.
don't want to spoil it, though. I mean,
Maybe he's just going to go for a big centre party. That'd would be great if he actually had a Curtains hairstyle at the end. It ends
Like
with him
Bernie
saying,
Eccleston.
what do you think of this? And when he pulls the two down, then the moustache looks like a bow holding them together.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that would be the best ending
Balaclava.
ever. Of course, it's a great tradition, is it? The last episode
Yes.
of something.
Yeah.
Like when, Victor Meldrew, when he...
Oh, yeah.
Victor Meldrew, I like
What
the
happened
idea.
at the end of that? I never watched that.
It's, how do we get rid of this much-loved comedy sitcom character? What about a hit and run?
Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's how they killed Victor Meldrew, a hit and run. I mean, grim in the extreme. And the brilliant thing is, he was a national treasure, much loved. And everyone was really emotional about the fact it was the last episode. And it was the night that Judith Keppel won £1 million on A Millionaire on the other channel at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Coincidentally.
Yeah. Not murky at all.
No, and... Not Angela Merkel. and yeah, that was that. So I'm looking forward to the last.
I like the ending of Crossroads. They'd obviously just had enough and they couldn't be bothered anymore, so they just completely gave up and had Jane Asher. Suddenly they went all kind of weird and dream sequencing, and she went, "Oh, I've just had a dream that I owned a motel." That was actually how they ended.
Oh, she should have said the whole thing was an ornate cake. Brilliant. I think they should have ended the Crossroads like a Who gig. They should have just torn the whole thing down.
It used to wobble, didn't it, Crossroads?
There's a lot of bad things said about Crossroads. I used to love it, but I still think the ultimate description of Crossroads is that it was like pornography without the sex.
Absolute Radio. Frank Skinner.